Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the University of Alabama Graduate School Strategic Graduate Partnerships Initiative Summer Research Experience for Undergraduate Student Information Session. So that is definitely a mouthful. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. Um, so we Instead of saying Strategic Graduate Partnerships Initiative, it's a lot to say. Uh, we just say SGPI, SGPI. So that is the program out of the graduate school that we are representing here today. So SGPI is Strategic Graduate Partnerships Initiative. Next slide. So we'll start with some introductions. So I am Emmett Lodry, Executive Director of Academic Partnerships here at the Graduate School at the University of Alabama. I am also a faculty member in the Culver House College of Business. I am a professor of operations management, and I will pass it on to Kim Jacks to introduce herself.
Hi, y'all. I am Kim Jacks. I'm the Academic Partnerships Coordinator. And for those of you who may be joining us this summer, I'll be coordinating all the fun things that we have in store for you all that we'll discuss in this slide. And I'll go ahead and pass it down to Jackson.
Hey everyone. Well, first, Kim, I think that there we go. Perfect. Hey everyone, my name is Jackson Quarles, and I'm the graduate assistant for SIGPI, which is, of course, Strategic Graduate Partnership Initiatives. I'm a first year master's student in the public administration program here at the University of Alabama.
And Kim, did you mention that you are a PhD candidate? You're on mute.
I did not. I'm also a PhD candidate um, here at the University of Alabama, getting my PhD in political science.
Excellent. All right, so here's what we have in store for today. We anticipate that we will present for about 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, and then leave the rest of our time here for questions from the audience, which you guys will type in the chat, and then our team will read and look at the questions, and then read the questions out, and then we will answer the questions. So we will talk about just what the program is, talk about what you need to do to apply, why you should apply, and then leave the rest of the time for questions. Okay, so what is this summer Bridge-REU? So it is a 10-week program where you are on the University of Alabama campus. The focus is on research experience. You'll be working with faculty and graduate students who are experts in their field of study. You will get experience of what research is like. The commitment is roughly about 40 hours per week, so it's like a full-time job. It is an on-campus program that is held at the University of Alabama. Um, Also, because it is a full-time commitment, we are looking for participants who will be dedicated fully to the program, which means that ideally participants will not have other employment or be enrolled in any summer courses for the duration of the program. Um, the program is essentially designed for students who are thinking about graduate school, particularly graduate school at the University of Alabama. So there is an academic component. So one of the things that leads to um, being a successful applicant to a graduate program, meaning that you apply to a program and then you get accepted, is that you have some academic experience and that you have some research experience. So the program is definitely going to focus on developing your expertise in your field of study, and in addition to that, so there's the academic component, and there's also a professional development component that includes things like um, soft skills, like communication skills, how to write emails, how to communicate with your faculty advisors, things like that. We'll also have some professional development events that focus on um, preparing a resume and how to get ready for the job market. So professional development will be focused and targeted at preparation for graduate school, but these will be skills that will apply for any real life or real world situation, including the job market. And then lastly, graduate school preparation. This is a program that is designed to give students sort of an opportunity to sort of get some experience in what it's like to be a graduate student. So the primary focus of the experience is to prepare you for graduate school. So here's just a list of the programs that we have this summer. So we have the Alabama Transportation Institute. Their program is called Autonomous and Connected Transportation, Artificial Intelligence for Operational Hydrology with the Alabama Water Institute, Athletic Training, Chemical Engineering with a focus on polymers, Chemistry, Renewable Energy. That program is actually only open to students that attend Stillman College, Fort Valley State University, and Jackson State University, the Chemistry and Renewable Energy program. We also have Food and Nutrition, Psychology, and Social Work. Your undergraduate major does not have to be in these exact topics in order to qualify for these programs. You can refer to the website that has more specific information about the majors that these programs are looking for. Here are just a few key dates. So the application deadline is March 1st, and the application portal is available on the SGPI website. Recommendation letters are due March 5th, 2026. And then by April 15th, you will know if you have been accepted or not accepted into the program. That's when we'll get back in terms of notifications. The dates of the program are May 17th through July 25th. In-person participation is required. So this is a program where we're looking for participants that will be here for the full duration between May 17th and July 25th, 2026. So for example, if you know that you have a vacation plan anywhere in that time frame, then this is not the program for you. You have to be fully committed to the program for those 10 weeks. And Kim and Jackson, feel free to um, add comments in case I leave anything out. All right, so just about a little bit about the University of Alabama. We are a Carnegie classified Research One institution, the second fastest research growth among R1s. Basically, that means that we are a university that is very, very focused on research. We have about 6,000 graduate students, and our total student population is about 42,000, which includes the 6,000 graduate students. We have robust academic and student support resources. Um, in the graduate school, we have over 100, I think it's about 150 majors to choose from in graduate school. And many institutions like the University of Alabama offer very similar have a very similar profile. So we're a big school, so we have a lot of resources and especially support for graduate programs, research, and graduate students. And just a little bit about the location of the University of Alabama, we are located in Tuscaloosa, which you can see there in the star in the state of Alabama. So we are sort of west of the state. And in terms of the latitude, we're about maybe central to the state of Alabama. We're about 4 hours from a lot of different things. We're about 4 hours from New Orleans. We're a little bit less than 4 hours from Atlanta. We're about 4 hours from Nashville, and we're about 4 hours from the beach. If any of you are participating and will be flying in, then the nearest major airport is located in Birmingham, Alabama, and Birmingham is just east of Tuscaloosa by about an hour. So you would be using the Birmingham Shuttlesworth International Airport if you're flying into to get to Tuscaloosa. Okay, so just some criteria. What makes your application for the SIG-PI Summer REU competitive? And there is some variation among the 8 programs, but this is just sort of a summary of what we are requiring for admission. So minimum GPA, usually between 3.0 and 3.2 on a 4.0 scale. Um, you have to submit your resume, letters of recommendation, statement of purpose, and unofficial transcripts. Kim, did you have some comments about those application materials that you wanted to
Yeah,
mention?
I'll touch on them on the next slide.
Okay, thanks. The program is open to international students, but only international students who are currently enrolled full time at a at an institution, at an academic institution located in the United States. So you must hold a valid visa that will allow you to participate in the program. Unfortunately, the program is not open to international students who are not enrolled full time in U.S. academic institutions. So, if you're an international student attending an institution that is outside of the United States, then you're not eligible for this program. Okay, Kim. So I will let you talk a little bit about the application, some tips to strengthen your application.
Yes. So one of the things that we recommend is making sure that you have an intentional statement of purpose. Depending on the program, they may say what they want you to touch on in that statement of purpose. And while you're writing that statement of purpose, definitely make sure that you're taking it either to your career center or your writing center, because remember, this is the first impression that these programs will have of you. You'll need strong letters of recommendation. And to that note, that means that the main thing is that those letters of recommendation, they have to be submitted by your recommender. So for example, if I'm applying to the program and Dr. Lodry and Jackson are my recommenders, they must submit the letters themselves. You're not able to do that. And we just suggest that you apply as soon as possible, largely because even though the applications close on March 1st, the letters of recommendation are due March 5th. Right now it's January 15th, so that should be enough time for your letter, for your recommenders, to write really strong letters of recommendation by the time the portal closes. Jackson, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, just reiterating everything Kim said, and then make sure, like she was saying, you're taking your resumes or your statement of purpose to your career center, always getting a second set of eyes on everything you're submitting so that it is perfect once you have it in. Usually, if there's something, obviously on our end, if something will come in formatted incorrectly, I'll send you an email, say, hey, this resume or this statement of purpose came in. It looks a little funny. I'll allow you to email it again. But like Kim was saying, just make sure you go ahead and get those applications in early so that you have enough time to fix any mistakes if they do come up.
All right, thank you. Okay, so what are some of the things that you get out of participating? So one is there is financial incentive. There is a stipend of just over $5,500 for participating in the program for the 10 weeks. There's also on-campus housing that's provided to you at no cost, and there will also be dining hall access. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, one of the main focuses of the program is getting you some research experience. Um, One thing about applying to graduate school is the people that actually evaluate your application to a graduate program are faculty. And faculty are looking at your qualifications as far as your ability to handle the academic rigors of graduate school. And one of the things that speaks to that is research experience. So um, a lot of most of the time that you're here during the summer will be focused on research experience. So it's hands-on experience in your discipline, advanced academic training to prepare you for graduate level studies, and also in some cases focusing on academic writing. And then lastly, professional development, which includes things like weekly workshops and panels, graduate school advising and admissions guidance. And don't underestimate the impact of networking, because at the end of the day, there's people that are making decisions about your applications for graduate school. So the more that you can get to know the university faculty, staff, and graduate students, the better your chances are of being accepted into a program and actually getting funding for graduate studies in a particular program. Okay, so that concludes our presentation. So now we'll open it up for questions.
All right, we already have a few in the chat, so I'll go ahead and start going through some of those. Our first question is, do you need an official transcript at the time of submission or in case of acceptance to the program?
Unofficial transcripts are fine.
All right, the next question, does applying early give you an edge in the selection process?
Not necessarily. I mean, everybody's application gets fully evaluated if it's submitted on time.
All right, what would you recommend our personal statement include for the social work program, academic experience, personal/lived experiences, futuristic planning, or all of the above?
That's a really good question. So the statement of purpose, like what does that entail? So I'm going to answer the question from the perspective of a faculty member who is reading one of these and what it is that we're looking for. Um, So what we're looking for are people that demonstrate a passion or very strong interest for the subject matter that they're going to be studying. So in whatever way that you can communicate that as it relates to the description of the program that you see on the website, you need to be able to communicate a strong interest in that program, that you have background in that, or that you have strong interest in learning about a particular program. We do recognize, like, say, for example, you may attend an institution that doesn't have a chemical engineering program, but you may have very strong interest in chemical engineering. You may have some knowledge about that subject that you've learned through one of your chemistry classes or whatever the case may be. And you don't necessarily have to have the exact background for the particular program, but you have to be able to demonstrate that you have a strong interest in that. Secondly, if you do have background, then it's really important to communicate that. However, remember, you do have to submit a resume. You don't want your statement of purpose to just regurgitate your resume. You want to be able to communicate some things that are in between the lines in your resume. So instead of just talking about, oh, well, I made all A's, right? You may want to talk about, well, I made all A's in the midst of doing all of these other extracurricular activities, and things like that. You might want to talk about the kind of learner that you are, and who are you as a person. So those are some of the things that you can communicate in a statement of purpose. But it's also, it shouldn't be a restatement of your resume, but it also shouldn't be your life story, right? I've seen some statements of purpose that are just too much on a life story tip, but I think a little bit of that is okay as long as it speaks to your passion for the subject matter. And then the last thing I'll say is if you are communicating an interest to go to graduate school and how you see this program helping you achieve that goal, and then also talking about your career goals, right? So how does this program um, help you achieve what you think your career goals are? So having some idea about what that is would also be helpful in a statement of purpose. Do you guys have any other comments or suggestions?
I would say too, if you want more specific guidelines, and we'll throw this slide up a little bit later about your statement of purpose, like if there is anything that they're looking for that's beyond the website, definitely reach out to the program liaisons. So the graduate school is going to do a soft facilitation, but the students selected to participate in this program, much like graduate school admissions, they're going to be selected by the program, not the graduate school itself.
That's a very, very good point.
Okay, we had another question. That's what about an international student studying online at a US university? Are they allowed to still apply?
You have to be a, you have to have a visa is the bottom line. The our program that we're hosting this summer requires an in-person participation. So if you have a visa, um, then I believe you're eligible if you're attending a U.S. university online. Um, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I do know for sure that you have to have a visa that's already sponsored.
Okay, there was another question. So I'll just go ahead and so the question was, will you still be considered even if you are right now not planning to attend a UA grad program next fall?
Yes, I mean, all applications are considered. I will say the um, ideal situation to be in is that you would be a rising junior um, come fall 26, um, because that gives you sort of you have enough coursework, um, and you won't be so if you're a rising junior in fall 26, then the ideal time to apply for a graduate program will be a rise. I'm sorry, not a rising junior in fall 26. If you're currently a junior right now and you will be a senior in fall 26, that would be the ideal um, stage of your career for an applicant. Because if you will be a senior in fall 26, then you will be applying to graduate school ideally in fall 26. So timing wise, that's the case. Now, do you necessarily have to be um, planning for a graduate program at UA at some time in the future? No, you don't. Will it make you more competitive as an applicant if you're considering a UA graduate program in the future. Absolutely. So let's I can put it to you this way, right? It's two equal applicants, right? They're equal in every way, except one is interested in coming to UA and the other one isn't. So of course, the one who is interested in coming to UA will be a higher priority because our university is investing significant amount of resources to have this summer program. And one of the things that we would like to see out of it is um, students from those programs coming to our university.
Okay, so this is a good one. It says, so this person said their school follows a quarter system and their finals end on June 1st, which is about 2 weeks into the program. How are students on quarter systems supposed to go about this? So I'm assuming that's meaning being in starting the program and still trying to finish their semester or their quarter.
Yes, unfortunately, that just doesn't align with our schedule. You have to be here on May 17th on a full-time capacity.
There is another question. So, will each program be completing a new research project or reviewing previously approved submissions hands-on? So, I guess um, this person is asking if they submitted a project within their statement of purpose, is that something that they'll be doing?
Um, so can an applicant propose a project? Is that
I think that the gist of the question is what type of research will they be doing? Is it new research or something that's been previously approved?
Yeah, so there's a significant amount of variation in the research experience that you'll have. A lot of it is mostly driven by the faculty advisor who you would be working under. Um, so, and it just depends on what projects that the faculty advisors have going on at the time. So mostly what happens with these undergraduate research experiences is faculty recognize that most undergraduates don't have a lot of research experience. So we try to get you involved in something that's already ongoing. It's a little bit more challenging for us to bring you in on something that's brand new because those things are not well defined and the tasks that we give you might not be as well defined. So what you'll see, but it could be a broad range, right? I mean, it could be anything from something that is brand new to something that's really mature and almost ready to be published. It just depends on the faculty mentor that you would be assigned to or that you would be working with.
All right. So I see a lot of questions that basically ask how many students will be selected per program.
Um, yeah, so so we have 8 programs. Um, so I think so some programs will admit 10. Um, we have 2 programs that will admit 3. So let's see if we can do this. The autonomous and connected transportation will admit 3. Um, the operational hydrology program is in the neighborhood of 10. The chemistry and renewable energy, chemical engineering, they will admit 10. Human nutrition will admit 10. Who else do we have? Social work is going to admit 4. Psychology is going to admit 3. Am I missing anybody?
Did you hit athletic training?
Athletic training will admit 4.
Okay, there's another question. Will there be time for participants to explore the campus and surrounding area when not attending program events?
I'm going to defer all things fun to the fun people who Kim and Jackson.
Yeah, I can answer that one. So yeah, there will be plenty of time. I mean, like Dr. Loja was saying, you will be working 40 hours every week. And then within those 40 hours, we have our own like professional development and fun activities as well. But you will have time to explore campus. During orientation, you'll have a campus tour. So they'll take you around campus, show you where the cool spots are, not only on campus, but also in Tuscaloosa. Also, if you are accepted, you'll get a document that'll have all of our program activities, but also just some weekly activities that Tuscaloosa offers. So, whether that's an art festival or there's Tuesday movie nights as well. And so, I know last year some of the participants will go and do that when they weren't working. And then, like I'm to say, all that goes into your experience within the program. And so, you'll have plenty of time to get acquainted with Tuscaloosa, get acquainted with your fellow coworkers, as well as the cohort as well. And so along with us as well, I know we mentioned a lot about professional development activities, but we do have some fun activities as well. Some of the ones from last year being rock climbing, we went to an escape room, Bolero as well, which is bowling. That was really fun. Pop stroke, which is kind of, I don't know if you know what Top Golf is, but Top Golf, golfing. And we also have a game night that everyone will attend that's during the week, during that first week that you're here. So there'll be plenty of ways to bum one another, but also get acquainted to Tuscaloosa. And we'll have those fun activities that are in the program, but also we'll make sure you know everything that is going on so that you can have some fun while you're here for the summer. Because Tuscaloosa is a very fun place as well. So it'll be a mix of both.
And I think Jackson perfectly covered that. I do see another question. I'll go ahead and answer it that's kind of in line with that. So someone asked, will there be working on weekends? Are we allowed to return home during the weekends? Most programs will not have you work on weekends. You follow sort of that 8 to 5, 40-hour per work week. Um, During the summer, if you live close enough by to go home for the weekend, obviously you're more than welcome to do that. But for example, I'm from Maryland. I would not suggest flying home for the weekend and then flying back. So it's just within distance. On the weekends, we trust that you guys will make the appropriate decision in terms of whether you're going to stay in Tuscaloosa or, go visit Birmingham or go home for the weekend.
Okay, there was another question, which will really be a quick answer, but they asked, are interviews a part of the application process?
Some programs do Zoom interviews. So if you get shortlisted, then you might have a Zoom interview, but it varies by program. Not all programs do it. I'm pretty sure the operational hydrology program does it, but I'm not sure who else would do that.
Okay, this one says, sorry, Kim, I was about to go. This one says May 17th is a Sunday, and that's the day that is that the day we move into the dorms? Question mark. And the first day of research is on the 18th, question mark. And so maybe just some clarification on how that those 2 days will work with move in and then starting their research experience.
Yeah, you guys can answer that one.
That was actually the one that I was going to so our minds. So May 17th, you will move in on the afternoon of May 17th since it is a Sunday. Monday is actually our orientation. So you'll do an orientation as a whole cohort with SGPI, and then after that you'll go off into your individual programs and do an orientation. Some programs may have you jumping right into research on that day, and others may ease you into it a little bit on that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then obviously that following week is Memorial Day, Labor Day, one of those two holidays. And then you'll continue on in your research throughout the summer.
This one is about the stipend. It says, will we receive the stipend before or during the program? So I know that will be kind of a split. It'll come during, but maybe y'all can provide some more clarification on when the payments will, how that will work for the participants.
Kim, I'll let you answer that one.
I can take that. So you'll be paid during the program. I think that was the question, is when the payments occur. Right now we're trying to finalize that schedule, but you guys will be paid three times in equal payments during the program. And so that's, I think, 1,700 once a month. And then that final payment will occur after the program has ended. And that's basically sort of like a participation bonus. Like, did you come to all of the events that you were required to attend to? So professional development and social activities. Were you participating in your lab? So we'll check in with your PIs, your principal investigators or program liaisons, PLs, on how you're doing in your labs with your research. And that final payment will be based on that. So I think that's the remaining 680.
All right. Another one probably for you, Kim, as well. Um, it says, should we be accepted? What should we expect in terms of housing?
So in terms of housing, if you are accepted, we'll send out a participant information survey to kind of one, hear if there are any sort of accommodations that you have at your current university that you need repeated here. But we'll house you by gender, and it will be I think it's three people per apartment unit. In those apartment units that we've used previously, it's called Bryce Lawn. There is a kitchen, a dining room, and laundry in that unit. And it is a bit farther from where you'll be at during the day, but it's also nice because you guys will all be sort of in 1 to 3 buildings um, as a cohort, and it'll allow you to bond a little bit more as well.
Yeah, and each so the living room and kitchen and uh, like washer dryer area, that those are all common, and then each of the I think there's two bathrooms in each of those that are also common, and then each of your individual rooms you would have a key that only your key would open the door to your individual bedroom.
And then another thing to add to that too, so you will have a dresser and a closet in those rooms. And I believe the beds there are twin XL. They're either twin or twin XL, the common dorm room beds. And you will need to provide your own sort of linens, comforters. And we'll send you guys a packing list of all the things that you may need throughout the summer. And obviously, like we're in a town, so if you do forget some of those things, there are options to go or opportunities to go to Publix, Target, Home Goods, any of those stores where you can get linens and things like that.
This one says, would it be recommended to bring transportation or is the campus slash scheduled events walkable? So I'll try to answer some of it. And then Kim, if I miss anything, then you can just follow up. So, I mean, it's just depending on where you're coming from, the transportation, you can bring your car with you. We'll give you a parking pass. I don't know if that was mentioned already. You'll be able to park in the parking lot that's right next to the residence hall where you'll be living at. And so it'll be very convenient where you park your car as to where you'll be staying. As far as getting around campus or the scheduled events that you'll have, so campus for the most part is walkable. So it will be the summer, so it'll be a bit hot, but it is walkable. Typically, you'll be able to walk from your dorm to wherever you're conducting your research at. And then from there, you'll be able to walk to any of the events, professional development events that we'll be having on campus. Now, as far as the fun activities that I mentioned earlier, as far as that transportation goes, we'll try to have carpooling. So if you want to ride with your roommates, or I know last year I drove some students to our activities, Kim did also as well. And so we'll have transportation to those activities. And so we'll make sure you get there. But as far as getting around your day to day on campus, you'll be doing a lot of walking for the most part, but nothing is too far. Like I said, only thing is it is a bit hot, but you won't have to move your car every day to get to and from the activities that we'll have during the week. So hopefully that answers that question.
And then another thing, I saw the question, now I can't find it, um, is about whether or not you guys are allowed to have cars. Obviously, based on Jackson's answer, you are. And there is no fee associated with bringing your cars on campus. I know most large campuses charge students, but over the summer, we'll cover that. Now, if you do get a parking ticket, if you're parked where you're not supposed to be, you will be responsible for covering that.
I might add that if I mean, I feel like if you have a car, you should bring it. Just if it's feasible. If you need to go to the grocery store or go other places around town, um, you know, I think that would be more convenient. We do have a Publix that's like right across from right across the street from campus. But the part of campus that the apartments that you'd be living in is on the other side of campus. And I wouldn't recommend that walk, especially like if you are trying to transport groceries. So for that reason, I would say if you do have access to a vehicle and it's feasible for you to bring it, then I would encourage you to bring it.
Okay, so I see a lot of questions about letters of recommendation. So I'm going to combine some of them. So, do you recommend that letters of rec be written by teachers in the field or professors in the field that we are applying for? For example, if I were to apply for psychology, should I only get letters of rec from psychology teachers? And then another portion of that is, does it need to come from faculty and staff, or can it be from other people?
I mean, I would say the best letters of recommendation will come from faculty, right? So if you're in psychology, then having letters from psychology professors that can speak to your ability. So of course, these would be psychology professors that you've taken courses from or you've done research under. So in one sense, if it's just a random psychology professor, then that won't be helpful. You need to get somebody that knows you and can speak to your abilities. Um, s- in some cases, someone who's not a professor that might be good to write a recommendation for you is if it's a supervisor that you may have worked under in a job in psychology or in the program that you're applying to. If it's just your supervisor from your job at the supermarket, that's not at all related to the subject matter of the program that you're applying to, even though they can speak to how wonderful of a person that you are, that you're such a hard worker and you get things done, that won't necessarily be helpful because what we're trying to ascertain is do you have the academic background and work ethic and motivation to be successful in this program?
All right. There's another question. It's a two-part question. Is there a length requirement for the statement of purpose? Also, will there be a research conference where we present our findings from the summer?
So the length of the statement of purpose should be about 1 page. I would say about maybe 4 to 5 paragraphs. I mean, it could be 2 pages, if you double space or depending on the size font that you use and the margins that you use. But if it's like single space, 1 inch margins, um, 1 page would be sufficient, about 4 to 5 paragraphs. And in terms of the conference, we do have a poster competition at the very end of the program. And you guys, I don't know if you want to say more about the poster competition.
I definitely can. So the poster competition is basically going to be a culmination of the research that you're engaging in. So each student will present what they've been working on over the summer. Some of you will be working in groups. So even if you're working as a group, you'll still present one poster on your own. And the portion that we call it a competition is that each program will have like a winner or so, winner or first place, first or second place, depending on how large the program is. And essentially, it's a really great opportunity for you to showcase your research skills. We'll invite administrators from across the university. So I think last year we had an associate dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, which is one of our larger schools, the dean of the College of Human Environmental Sciences, and that's kind of over our athletic training program, and there was another one too. So they'll
Human
be there as
nutrition.
well, and food and nutrition. And then we'll also have, just members of our community coming out to support that research and to support you all as well.
Okay, there was a question about dining hall. So it said the presentation mentioned access to a dining hall so that we have to pay for our meals there if we choose to eat there. So Kim, you might be able to explain a little bit more about how that how that's in the process of going to work once they get here. Kim.
I'm sorry, it cut out for a second.
Yeah,
Can you
dining
repeat?
halls. Yeah,
Dining
asking
halls.
about dining halls and if they will have to pay for their meals there or how would that work? I figure you could speak a little bit more about how that would.
Got it. Um, So we're in the process of finalizing what that will look like. But as it stands right now, unless you go over that meal plan allottage, I don't think that's a word, but allotments, that's the word, that we have for you, you won't have to pay for meals. We're still waiting to hear which of those dining halls will be open during the summer. There's one that's called Lakeside Dining, which is a little bit closer to our student center. And there's one that's Fresh Food Company, which is closer to Gorgas Library and a little bit of a closer walk to Bryce Lawn. And then if you want to eat like Chick-fil-A or Subway, that's open for the summer, but you will have to pay for those options. And then for our social activities and professional development workshops, we'll cover um, most of those lunches. And then depending on what the activity is for the social activity, we'll cover dinner as well.
So what I also just want to make sure we're clear that um, we don't have a definitive answer to this question at the moment because we're working on it. The dining halls operate on limited hours during the summer, and we don't know what those hours are going to be right now. I think we will know in a week or two, but right now we don't know the hours that they'll be available. So we're working. So once we know when they're going to be open, then we could make other arrangements for the times when they're not going to be open. And we don't know what that looks like at this point. But it is something that we are in the process of working on.
Here's another good question. Would you say the selection process is holistic? What factors matter most in application review?
I'm sorry. I kind of I kind of laughed a little bit. So the people that make decisions about these are faculty members. A lot of times, like it's hard to get faculty members to agree on things. So it's really hard to answer that question. It really depends on the faculty member. It really depends on the specific program that you're applying to. So um, we have 8 different programs. There could be 8 different answers to the questions. Now, we are the graduate school, and we sort of try to provide guidance and guidelines surrounding what we value in terms of how you evaluate applications. Um, but ultimately, they are going to make decisions based on their objectives as a program. And generally, that means that they're looking for people who they think would be good graduate students in their graduate programs. So I would say the academic side is probably going to weigh the most in all of the criteria that's being looked at. But um, we do instruct to look holistically at the entire application and experience of the student.
Here is another one, and I'll go ahead and answer it. Will there be access to recreational facilities such as the gym or fields for interns? So once you are accepted, um, and you fill out that you receive that participant information survey, we'll ask if you're interested in having access to our university recreation center. If you are, I don't know if they run the classes during the summer, but you can go there to work out. Like I said, they may be running classes during the summer as well. So you'll have access to that. As far as fields, I'm not entirely sure what access there is for non-athletic students to those fields. Jackson, I don't know if you can answer that or not.
Yeah, they'll usually just be open. So It'll be during the summer, so there won't be any club sports or recreational games going on. So usually the fields, which when you get here, if accepted, you'll see the fields are right behind the recreational center. So you can go out there, you'll have access to the field, go out there, run, throw a frisbee, play soccer, whatever you want to do is usually open for students to use.
All right, here's another really good question. Is being accepted into this summer program a good indicator of being accepted into the graduate school, or do the qualifications differ?
Um, Again, it just kind of depends on the program. Um, so in a lot of cases, the answer is yes. But of course, it's not just a matter of being accepted into this program. It's what you do when you get here.
Okay, this is one that I hate to kind of go back to housing, and it's a very quick answer. But if an applicant is from Tuscaloosa, are they required to stay on campus or could they just commute from home? Maybe that's a Kim question. I know we had a couple, I know we've had students from the Tuscaloosa area before. And I do believe that they stayed on campus, but I don't know if it's a rule.
I mean, yeah, so one of the things about this program that we think differentiates it from programs at other universities is this idea of a cohort experience. So we do all we can to create that environment of a cohort. So we encourage, if possible, for for participants to live on campus. But at the same time, if you're paying rent somewhere, then we're not going to say, okay, you're required to stay on campus if you're actually paying rent somewhere in Tuscaloosa and you're in the middle of a lease or something like that. So um, often, we have a mix of, if UA students participate in the summer program, we have a mix where some students continue to live in the apartments that they already in, and some choose to live in the Bryce Lawn apartments with the rest of the cohort. So the short answer is no, it's not a requirement if you're already living in Tuscaloosa.
Okay, looking through. There was one more, and I guess not to harp too much on the you all's living situation because I know you'll if accepted, you'll get a lot more information about this. But there was a question about living on campus and if you're allowed to have visitors over, like friends or family. And like Dr. Logie was saying, you'll be living with other students in your cohort. So it's all about the relationship that you have with them. And like I said, if accepted, you'll hear a little bit more about having those roommates, how that will look. But just make sure you're being respectful of the other students that you're living with. So if they don't mind you having friends over, that's fine, or family, that's fine. But if they do, you just have to talk about that with them. So, and like I said, a lot of these questions about living on campus and the recreational life, and a lot of that will again be answered, and you'll get way more information about that if when accepted into the program.
Piggybacking off of that housing question, there was a question of are we able to room alone? Um, this is kind of a tricky question. So, in the sense of rooming alone, like having a room to yourself, each unit has 3 bedrooms, and those bedrooms are individual. Um, in terms of living alone in one unit by yourself, if there are accommodations that you have at your current university that require you to live alone, then we'll try our best. We will match that. But in terms of having one student in one full unit by themselves, it's I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very unlikely that we will situate a student in a 3 bedroom unit by themselves.
All right, Kim, I think most of the ones in the chat, I think we have kind of covered, if not directly, but answered through other questions. Do you see anything else that?
I just saw one. It says, does a student have to select the program track that matches their current major, or can they choose a different track based on their interests?
Yeah, I mean, you could apply to based on your interest. But there should be you do need to have the at least the minimum requirements, right? So if you're um, you know, if you're majoring in something in the humanities and you say, oh, I want to go for this chemical engineering program and I've never had any chemical engineering classes or anything like that, then obviously you can't make that big of a jump, right? But as long as you have the necessary background, you can apply based on your interest. And there was also another question about can we apply to multiple of these programs, and you can. But Kim, do you have to submit separate applications in that case?
If you're, I'm going to give it example wise so it's a little bit more clear. um, because we've done it in the past. But if you are interested in both the psychology and social work program, you'll have to go in, you'll apply for psychology first, submit your recommenders for that, and then you'll have to go in again and apply for social work. So you'll have to submit two applications. Um, I will say, and I want to caution against this because we saw a lot of it last year because of the way our system is set up, if you are applying to multiple programs, the programs can the program liaisons can see that because we have to send them the full application. We're not able to filter it to just psychology or just social work. Um, and so sometimes I will say, depending on the program, that may look like uncertainty in what you're wanting to research. And so that can be to a detriment. So I would personally suggest, trying to find a program that best fits your needs. But if you see that there are two that fit what you're interested in terms of research, definitely apply to those two. But I would not suggest applying to more than two programs, if that makes sense. All right, and so we are just about at time. There are a couple more slides that we want to show you all. We're going to work on, there are a lot of questions that we weren't able to get to in the chat. We're going to work on putting together a document. We'll post this recording both to the SIGPI website and to YouTube as well. And then we'll have a document of those questions that were frequently asked in the Q&A that we didn't get to. And then here's that final slide. Again, if you have any questions, definitely send them to sigpi@ua.edu. If there is a need that arises for you to give us a call, you're going to call us at that 205-348-5921. And definitely make sure that you follow the Graduate School UA on social media. And that's going to be UA Graduate School for most of those